imbalance, commonly referred as trade deficit or surplus, is a critical economic indicator that measures the difference between a country's export and import. When a country imports more than it exports, it experiences a trade deficit. Conversely, a surplus occurs when exports exceed import. Trade imbalances can have significant implications for a nation's economy, influencing factors such as currency valuation, foreign debt, and economic stability. For any country to grow, the only option is to have money earned from other nations. In today's episode of Logistically Speaking, I will help you understand this concept with a particular focus on India's current status and its implication. Let me explain why a trade surplus is required for national progress with an example of a household of 4 members, that is parents and 2 kids, who we can call A and B. A helps the father in cleaning the house and gets paid ₹1,000 every month. He uses 500 from that to pay B for tuition and give 500 to his mother for food. And B in turn also pays 500 to the mother for food, and the mother gives 1,000 to the father for buying foods and provisions. In this example, though everyone earns money, it gets rotated in the same household, and naturally there is no progress or wealth creation in the household. Similarly, for a nation, economic progress and growth require an inflow of money from external sources. This inflow typically comes from exports and trade with other countries. A trade surplus, where a country exports more than it imports, bring in additional revenue that can be used for development, infrastructure, and improving the standard of living. If we delve into history, we can often find that the underlying reasons for wars and expeditions were primarily driven by the desire for revenue and the inflow of wealth from other nations. Nations that understood this early sought to expand their influence and control by establishing colonies across the world. By exploiting the riches of other nations, these early colonizers were able to fuel their economic growth and development, laying the foundation for their long-term prosperity. Trade imbalances are a natural part of international trade dynamics. A trade deficit occurs when a country purchases more goods and services from other nations than it sells to them. This situation can arise due to various factors, including differences in consumption patterns, production capabilities, and economic policies. While a trade deficit is often viewed negatively, it is essential to understand its nuances and potential benefits. A trade deficit can indicate robust domestic demand and economic growth as consumers and businesses import goods to meet their needs. It can also result from importing raw materials and intermediate goods crucial for manufacturing and export-oriented industries. However, persistent and large trade deficit can lead to several adverse effects such as currency depreciation, increased foreign debt, and economic vulnerability. India's trade dynamics in the financial year 23-24 provide a compelling case study of a significant trade deficit with most of its major trading partners. In fact, this deficit widened by 9.4% in the first quarter of 24-25. According to official data, India recorded a trade deficit with 9 of its top 10 trading partners, including China, Russia, Singapore, and Korea. The only exception was the United States, with which India maintained a trade surplus. Here is an overview. The trade deficit with China rose to $85 billion, up from $83.2 billion in 22-23. The deficit with Russia increased significantly to $57.2 billion from $43 billion in the previous financial year. In the case of Korea, the trade gap grew slightly to 14.71 from 14.57 billion. The deficit expanded to 12.2 billion from 8.38 billion for trade with Hong Kong. In contrast, the trade gaps with the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Indonesia, and Iraq narrowed during the same period. Notably, China emerged as India's largest trading partner with a bilateral trade with 118.4 billion, slightly surpassing the United States at 118.28 billion. Though India is signing many FTAs with many countries which could help in smoothing trade, this may not be helpful in decreasing the trade imbalance and might even result in an increased trade deficit. The persistent trade deficit with key trading partners has several implications for India's economy. First comes the currency depreciation. A rising trade deficit exerts pressure on the domestic currency, leading to depreciation. This depreciation makes imports more expensive, exacerbating the trade deficit. This also results in India being forced to take more loans from overseas, which can bring a feeling of economic uncertainty for investors. Then foreign debt. To cover the growing deficit, India might need to borrow more from foreign lenders, increasing its external debt burden. Then come economic vulnerability. Over-reliance on imports, especially for critical supplies, can make India economically vulnerable. For instance, a significant portion of India's import from China consists of electronic goods, machinery and pharmaceutical ingredients, which are crucial for various sectors. Sectoral impact will be one of the other implications. Some specific sectors which is experiencing export declines may face economic strain, leading to job losses. And lastly, foreign exchange reserve. A widening trade deficit can deplete foreign exchange reserves, signaling economic instability to investors and potentially reducing foreign investment. Trade experts argue that a bilateral trade deficit with a single country is not inherently problematic unless it leads to over-dependence on that country. If the imports are of intermediate goods which are used for boosting local manufacturing, which is in turn exported, this is not a major problem. However, a rising overall trade deficit is detrimental to economic health. To address the trade deficit, India needs to adopt a multifaceted approach. Number one, boosting exports. Enhancing the competitiveness of Indian goods and services in international markets through innovation, quality improvements and better trade agreements. Number two, reducing unnecessary imports. Encouraging domestic production of goods that are currently imported to reduce dependency on foreign suppliers. Number three, developing domestic industries. Investing in key sectors to build self-sufficiency and reduce import reliance. Number four, managing currency and debt level. Policies need to be implemented to stabilize the currency and manage external debt prudently. Number five, quality and diversity of products. Demands can go up when the nation's quality standards are upgraded, resulting in quality product output. Also, the nation should have an ecosystem of aligned products so that the buyers can look at India as a sustainable and serious option for their sourcing. Trade imbalances are a complex and multifaceted issue with significant implications for a country's economy. India's trade deficit with its major trading partners highlight the challenges and opportunities within the trade dynamics. While importing raw materials and intermediate goods can boost manufacturing and exports, and maybe this also suggests a robust domestic demand, a persistent and large trade deficit can lead to economic instability. Addressing this requires a strategic approach focused on boosting export, reducing unnecessary import, and developing domestic industries to ensure sustainable economic growth. Well, we have come to the end of the episode. Thank you for watching till the end and hope this episode helped you to understand the impact of trade deficit. See you next time.